Have you ever found yourself trapped in the relentless grip of insomnia? Maybe it started innocently enough. A surge of adrenaline from the night's excitement, or the thrill of a game-winning moment that kept your mind racing. Minutes turned into hours, days turned into weeks, and suddenly, the world around you seemed distorted, twisted by the sleepless nights. Join us as we unravel the chilling tales of insomnia-induced horror on Nightcap Nightmares. In this spine-tingling journey, we delve into 3 harrowing accounts of sleep deprivation that will leave you questioning the very fabric of reality. From hallucinations reminiscent of a fever dream to the haunting specters of the mind, these stories will grip you from the start to finish, ensuring that you won't want to close your eyes for fear of what lurks in the darkness. So sit back, relax if you can, and brace yourself for a journey into the darkest corners of the sleepless mind. Baldur's Gate 3 Nightmare. I often found solace in the glow of my Nintendo Switch screen, especially during those long, lonely nights when sleep eluded me. On this particular evening, I was engrossed in the world of Baldur's Gate 3, battling a formidable boss with all the skill and determination I could muster. Hours passed unnoticed as I delved deeper into the game, the room around me fading into darkness until only the soft illumination of the screen remained. As the night wore on, fatigue began to weigh heavily upon me, my eyelids growing heavy with the promise of sleep. But just as I was about to call it quits and retire to bed, I saw it, a fleeting shadow, darting across the room like a specter in the night. My heart skipped a beat as I turned to face the source of the disturbance, but there was nothing there, just the empty expanse of my dimly lit room, bathed in an eerie silence that seemed to stretch on for eternity. I shook my head, chalking it up to exhaustion and the overactive imagination that often accompanies late-night gaming sessions. But try as I might, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over me like a suffocating blanket. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind outside seemed to echo with a sinister resonance that sent shivers down my spine. With a nervous laugh, I dismissed my fears and returned my attention to the game, determined to put the strange occurrence behind me. But as the night dragged on, the sense of foreboding only grew stronger, like a dark cloud looming on the horizon, threatening to engulf me in its suffocating embrace. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the shadow returned, a looming figure lurking in the corner of the room, its form obscured by the darkness that surrounded it. My blood ran cold as I reached for the night switch, but when I flickered it on, there was nothing there. Nothing but an empty room devoid of life, save for the pounding of my heart and the ragged sound of my own breath. Terrified and trembling, I fled to the room, leaving behind the haunting specter that had invaded my sanctuary. But even as I sought refuge in the safety of the outside world, I couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister lurked in the shadows, waiting to claim me as its next victim. Nightmare within a nightmare. The night stretched on endlessly, a relentless march of insomnia that left me trapped in the suffocating grip of wakefulness. It was as if I was cursed, condemned to wander the darkened corridors of my mind like a lost soul searching for salvation. Each time I closed my eyes, I plunged into a swirling maelstrom of fragmented thoughts and haunting images, my consciousness adrift in a sea of uncertainty. I felt like Edward Norton in a Fight Club, caught in a perpetual struggle against the relentless tide of sleeplessness. Every moment of rest was stolen from me, replaced instead by a ceaseless barrage of mental chaos that threatened to consume me whole. I longed for the sweet release of slumber, but it remained tantalizingly out of reach, a distant dream that mocked me from the shadows. As the nights wore on, my grip on reality began to slip, the lines between waking and dreaming blurring until they were indistinguishable from one another. I found myself questioning the very fabric of my existence, unsure of what was real and what was merely a figment of my fevered imagination. Paranoia gnawed at the edges of my sanity, whispering sinister secrets in the darkness of the night. I became convinced that I was being watched, that unseen eyes were peering at me from the shadows, their malevolent gaze piercing through the veil of darkness like a dagger to the heart. But the worst part was the uncertainty, the nagging doubt that lingered in the depths of my mind, like a festering wound that refused to heal. Was I awake or asleep? Was this reality or merely a twisted dream? I couldn't tell anymore, lost in a labyrinth of my own making, trapped in a nightmare within a nightmare. And so I endured, night after endless nights, haunted by the specter of insomnia that stalked me like a vengeful ghost. I prayed for release, for the sweet oblivion of sleep to claim me at last, but it remained forever out of reach, a distant promise that mocked me with its elusiveness. Comic book conundrum. From the moment I opened my eyes, I knew something was terribly wrong. The world around me seemed to pulsate with otherworldly energy, as if I had stumbled into the pages of a DC Comics comic book. Everything was sharper, more defined, as if reality itself had been rendered with the meticulous precision of a skilled artist's hand. The streets of my neighborhood took on an eerie quality, the familiar landmarks warped and twisted into grotesque caricatures of themselves. Shadows danced and flickered in the corners of my vision, whispering secrets that sent shivers down my spine. It was as if I had stepped into a world where laws of physics had no longer applied, where the line between reality and fiction had been irrevocably blurred. As I walked the desolate streets, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes were peering at me from the darkness, scrutinizing my every move. I half expected to see Batman swoop down from the rooftops or the Green Goblin lurking in the shadows, ready to pounce at any moment. I know, Green Goblin came from Marvel, but nevertheless, it wasn't just the external world that seemed to have been altered. It was me as well. My thoughts felt disjointed, fragmented even, as if my mind had been pulled apart and reassembled by some unseen force. I struggled to hold on to my sanity, to cling to the tattered shreds of reality that remained. Days turned into weeks, and still I had remained trapped in this nightmarish limbo, a prisoner of reality that seemed to have been torn from the pages of a comic book. I longed for the sweet release of sleep, but it eluded me like a fleeting dream, leaving me stranded in a waking nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. And so I wandered, lost and alone, through the twisted streets of my own personal hell, praying for a way out of the surreal nightmare that had consumed me whole. But as the days stretched on endlessly, I began to wonder if I would ever awake from this living nightmare, or if I was doomed to wander the pages of this twisted comic book world for all eternity. As our journey of these harrowing tales draws to a close, don't forget to join us on Nightcap Nightmares for more spine-tingling adventures. From facing off against the Green Goblin in Baldur's Gate 3, to wrestling with Insomnia like Edward Norton in Fight Club, and even navigating a surreal DC Comics-inspired nightmare, we've explored the depths of imagination and fear. So, keep your eyes peeled and your senses sharp, because in the realm of Nightcap Nightmares, the ordinary becomes extraordinary and the mundane transforms into the macabre. Until we meet again, dare to dream, but beware of those that lurk in the shadows of your slumber. Good night, and may your nightmares be as thrilling as they are terrifying.